Welcome everyone to another edition of Play It Through, and on this edition is Viento, brought to us by Renovation and developed by Wolf Team. Viento, which is Spanish for the wind, is one of a trilogy of games that also includes the games Earnest Evans and a Japanese-only release known as the Net Futatabi. Viento is actually the second game in the trilogy, however it's its own self-contained story. It takes place several years later from the first game in the same universe. It does share some elements from the Earnest Evans game, mainly its graphical style and the anime-influenced elements. So here we go with Viento for the Sega Genesis. After we see the developer Wolf Team's logo, we then get the storylines for the game before getting to the main menu. The anime-influenced graphics are definitely one of my favorite parts about Viento. The opening story is a little bit long, but it does a good job of setting the tone, atmosphere, and place that we're going to be exploring in the game. Once we start up the game itself, you can see that the game is actually quite colorful and has some pretty nice graphics. The music itself is also extremely nice throughout the game. It's composed actually by Motoi Sakuraba, who of course is still composing music today for many hit franchises. With Viento being a Sega Genesis title, you have 3 buttons at your disposal, with the A button being your basic attack, B being jump, unless you hold down and press B, in which case you do a dashing run, and then C is your charge up magic powers. You start off with only one magic power, but you gain more as you go through. In order to use the different magic powers, you'll actually hold in the C button, and then release it at the proper amount of power up. Viento is extremely fast and action-packed from moment to moment. There's lots of enemies that you're going to be battling with, and if you're not careful, health can get drained extremely quickly due to the fact you have no invincibility. There's also no extra lives in the game. You have 1 life. When you lose that, it's game over, and you have 3 continues in order to complete the game. Overall, it's very tough, but rewarding when you're able to get farther and farther each time you play. In this area, you have a couple of cars that are going to come charging at you with enemies that pop out of them. You must destroy the cars and all the enemies before you're going to be able to continue. While the magic power is pretty useful in certain situations, at least for the most enemies in the game, I'll be using just the standard boomerang attack. In this area, you want to just drop down to the center to this room, and then you can just run straight across all the way to the other side. If you want to, instead of entering this door, you can go farther down the staircase to another room which will contain some health if you do need it. Continuing though, we go through that room, drop down, and enter this door for the first boss battle of the game, and this boss is actually really tough. Its giant cannon does a ton of damage, but it has the same pattern every time you fight it, with 2 fire shots, then a break, then a single, then it fires a bunch at a time, in which case you'll have to do a lot of dodging. Your goal of course is to keep attacking it until you're able to destroy it. The second form is a little bit easier with missiles flying all around you, and you have a little bit chance of dodging. The third and final form though is a machine gun that fires thankfully in large streams of bullets that are easy to jump over, but if they do hit you, will destroy your health. Just keep throwing out either the fireballs when you have that charged up or your regular boomerang to keep doing little bits of damage to the guy driving it, eventually exploding the vehicle and moving on to level number 2. Level number 2 is a little bit different than the first level. When we start off by running, we're going to jump over this trampoline and go through this little tunnel in order to get to this moving platform that will take us up to the top. Next, there's a whole lot of fruit swinging around on these platforms. You take out the fruit, you can step on them, but it's actually a lot easier just to run through the spikes. Yep, you're going to take a lot of damage, but we're going to be getting some health before we get anywhere near the boss. After running across the bridge that will break as you run across it, you'll then come to a bunch of totems that you'll take out. They do spit fireballs, but are pretty easy to destroy. When you jump up here to these pieces of wood that break when you stand on them, you want to stand on the 4th and 5th pieces of wood so that you can get health as you go down. This should replenish all the health you've pretty much lost throughout the first area. In the second area, just start off by running and you'll be able to go across another giant amount of bricks, and then you'll be on another one of the moving platforms. When it rises up just enough, you want to jump over to the right side. One of the hardest parts in the entire level, and actually really the game as far as jumping goes, is these rotating platforms. They're an extreme pain, and it'll take a lot of practice to get used to where you can stand in order to actually jump across multiples of them. After a bunch of more pieces of wood that will break when you stand on them, it's time for the boss. She'll bounce back and forth between the left and right sides, doing 2 moves. One is a giant circular move that will move you along with it, doing a lot of damage, and then 2 small projectiles. The best strategy, besides just attacking her straight up or using your fireball, is to actually break enough bricks to get her down far to the ground. This way you'll have a more even advantage of fighting her one-on-one. As long as you're able to dodge her giant circle attack, you'll be able to stand a much easier chance of surviving this fight and being able to keep hitting her. However, once you drain her health, she will drop down and you'll be able to move on to level number 3. Level number 3 starts off in a bar-like location. Start by running and firing the boomerang every so often to take out these guys in trench coats. Just a little bit into the level, a health jar will fall and you'll be able to replenish any health you lost over those first just couple enemies. Then just run along all the bottom until you make it to a big wall that you'll have to jump up. For these kegs, what you'll have to do is just run into them and hit them when they bounce up into the air in order to destroy them and cause an explosion that will destroy anyone around them. These fat guys, get up close to them and do either jumping attacks for the ones on ledges or just straight up regular attacks, mashing the button as quick as you can in order to do damage. For the next set, you can use the barrel to help you take out a couple of them, and then you'll have to manually take out the rest. Right after these fat dudes, you'll be able to stand on this platform that will fall down to the sewer and then drop down to the next segment of the level. This area is pretty annoying. Run across and you'll have a lot of rats that keep spawning constantly, trying to run into you, causing you to be pushed and pulled all different directions. Keep firing your boomerang while running through a lot of these areas to take out those rats. Here you're going to wait a second for them to fall before then dropping down the hole. When you make it over here, be very quick and just keep moving back and forth, left and right, all the way down until you get to the bottom. And when you reach the bottom, you'll have to use the fish enemies, yep, the fish enemies, to jump on their heads in order to get up and over. The next segment is a weird cave-like area with a bunch of cavemen-like guys running around. There's also some bugs that are on the bottoms of platforms that are a little bit hard to hit unless you do kind of a jump attack from below. You'll have to destroy a lot of bricks as well, and when you make it over here, if you need some health, destroy the bricks and drop down to the bottom. There's a caveman down there, but there's also some health. Over here, you're going to have to destroy him though, so that you can get down and run over. It's now time for a mini-boss. These 3 dragons that you're going to have to fight here, and you can fight them one at a time, or you can fight them all at once if you keep moving around. The best strategy for them, though, is to stand still on a platform and wait for them to kind of come up, and then start doing your attacks to their head. If you get an opportunity to just barely ride on one as it's rising upwards and you can go up with it while still doing damage to it, is your best bet to do lots of hits to it fast. I find standing still though the best strategy though for taking the least amount of damage. For the 3rd dragon, we're going to wait up here for him to come down and just repeat the process that we've been doing. Let him circle around you so that you don't try to just jump into him getting hit by his fireballs, and eventually he'll drop and give you the next magic spell. Like I said before, to use it, you'll have to hold in the C button to charge up, and while it's highlighted, you'll be able to drop the water down in order to destroy the little bits of flame that are there. Here you'll have to do this over and over again in order to get through and make it to the boss fight for level 3. This is the weirdest boss probably in the whole game. This giant gelatinous blob of jelly, what you'll have to do is take out the rings as well as the big center ball inside of it. To do so, you're going to use a combo of the water as well as your normal boomerang. Using the water to go back and forth on the bottom, what it'll do is hit the little lifesaver-like circles as they circle around and get down to the lowest point. In order, though, to hit the center one, what you're going to have to do is deliver hits to the blob, in which case you'll see that it indents. However, it doesn't stay permanently indented. After a little bit, it resets and comes springing out towards you, and you'll have to try to dodge a little bit as it does this, because it can mess you up and do a little bit of damage. Once it finally settles again, you'll be able to do more hits to it, bring in the indent, and hit the enemy until it's finally defeated. The next level has you, well, riding on a dolphin. Yep, you get to ride on the back of a dolphin as you move over the water, taking out all kinds of guys trying to drop bombs on you. Every so often, you'll have to take out a giant squid. Yep, a huge giant squid of Cthulhu-like proportions will jump out of the water, and you're gonna have to destroy it in order to get past. The game slows down pretty good here and knocks you away from your dolphin. When you land into the ocean itself, you will start to take damage, so you want to quickly jump out and land safely back on top of the dolphin. Just keep firing those boomerang shots though, and eventually you will be able to destroy it. After you destroy enough of them, you'll be able to eventually land on the giant ship and move on to the second segment of the level. Inside the giant ship, it's pretty much a maze. You'll have these destructible walls that you'll have to destroy in order to get by. A lot of times, you'll either have to quickly run as you're destroying the thing, and you'll have to get past before spikes are there, or you'll have to destroy walls, in which case they end up revealing spikes right next to them. When you get down here, you're going to have to destroy this little button, and when you do, it'll destroy the oil drum. Thankfully, the explosions, though, don't do damage to you. When you make it up here, though, you'll have to destroy a whole bunch of these crates so that you can jump up. On top of the crates, though, thankfully, there is some health to replenish any that you lost during the squid segment or the subsequent spikes that we were dealing with before. Here, destroy it, then run as quickly as you can across so that the spike balls don't fall on you. And when you drop down here, you want to hug the right wall to grab some more health. Here, you're going to jump across without destroying, and then do little quick runs, and if you do it right, you can get over without hitting the spikes, though it's rather difficult, as you can see. Even I ended up landing on the spikes a few times. You'll drop and jump all the way across, and then down another little staircase-like area, and when you make it over here, you want to destroy a couple of the crates without destroying the ones above, so that the spike ball doesn't fall on you. Climb your way up, avoiding destroying anything, and as well as avoiding jumping into the spikes from below. Destroy this and run, and then start destroying more oil drums. You'll start to see a pattern on pretty much how this works. After you climb up here and you make it to the very top of this area, you're going to drop down, and what you have to do is drop far enough down so you can hit the activator so it'll destroy the oil drum that was blocking your path above. The best way to do this, though, is by using your new ability, the wave ability, and it's a pretty useful move. You'll have to charge up for a bit, but it unleashes a big wave that'll destroy everything in your path, allowing you to run by. In the gelatinous blob of water here, you're going to want to make sure that you hang low so that you don't rise up too far to get into the top part, and you'll rush all the way back to the top and have to loop back around, so stay low. Destroy a whole bunch more of the little oil things and drop down in order to enter the boss fight. This boss is a little bit tough. You want to use the wave-like move in order to do damage to the giant brain-like entity on the far right side. After you deliver a few hits, though, it will start to flash a little bit and then do a big electrical move to you. As soon as you see it starting to charge, you want to dash as quickly as possible to the opposite side of the room. If you do it timed right, you'll be able to avoid taking any damage, but if you get hit by this giant electrical tentacle, you're going to get your health dropped really fast. After quite a few shots with the wave move, though, you'll destroy the boss and be able to move on to the next level. The next level is like a giant castle, and it introduces the most annoying enemy in the whole game, the bats. What a surprise, a game with bats, and these bats annoy the crap out of me. They like to cling onto you to the point that you can't even hurt them. You're going to want to also use your wave move to your advantage, using it to wipe out a whole ton of gargoyles as you run across this platform, destroying them as you make it across without them being able to do anything to you. When you make it here, you want to drop down to this big plant and then use your wave move in order to hit the plant, or you can just straight up use your fireballs or regular attacks to jump up and hit it as it moves up and down. The pattern it moves though is a little bit sporadic, so sometimes it can be a real pain to actually hit. Once you destroy it, drop down, but don't go into the room fully. You want to take out the bat by coming back quickly after it sees you. Then, use your wave move from a distance, or your boomerangs from a distance, to hit all these statues that are launching those bats at you. Keeping your distance will allow you to take out some of the bats before they end up getting close to you. Climb up all these different wall notches until you can make it to the top. Here you'll take out a bunch more of the statues, either using your boomerang or the wave move. In the next room, there's a lot of bats waiting for you. Destroy some and then just run. If you do so fast enough, you'll be able to make it across without the bats being able to catch up. You'll also gain your new ability, the bomb-like move. This bomb move, while it takes a while to charge up in order to use it, does a ton of damage, including taking out the tentacle guys that we were dealing with earlier in one single hit. You have to be direct though and hit the enemy right on with it in order to hit them, or what you have to at least do is let it go near a wall, in which case it'll explode against the wall, still hitting the enemy. The boss for this chapter is extremely annoying. If you're trying to hit it with your boomerangs, you'll notice that all of a sudden you won't have your boomerangs left anymore as they get trapped in the bubbles that the boss launches out. In order to get them back, you're going to have to destroy the bubbles, so you're going to have to do your special moves. The big bomb move that we just got is definitely useful to help us do this, using that bomb move to destroy a bunch of the bubbles at one time. It also can do a pretty good amount of damage to the boss itself, so the bomb, you want to get used to using it, and you should be able to take down the boss. The next level has you in a car factory, and there's a lot of conveyor belts that are going to be trying to pull you and push you different directions. The worst enemy is these guys on the wall that will end up firing bullets at you, well, circular blast at least. You'll also have to contend with auto parts falling down on you from either above or, in another instance in just a few moments, pushing us down the conveyor belt. Along this conveyor belt though, you will see these little weird head looking things, and if you pick those up, you end up getting a little bit of your health back, so it's beneficial to grab some of those. If you're able to finally get past this thing, you're going to pick up your new move, the final weapon in the game, in which case it is a homing needle shot. Yep, tiny needles will fly out and destroy anything in your path. Now the next boss in the game is extremely easy when you know what you're doing. Basically he hides in one of these boxes and then the boxes shuffle, and as long as you know what box he is in, you'll be able to do damage. If you pick the wrong box, he does damage to you. The great thing about it is, he does the same pattern every single time you play. You think it would be random, but it's actually the same pattern every single time. So as long as you know which one he is in when you do play, you'll be able to easily hit him, and it only takes a couple of times in order to defeat him and move on to the next level. The next level is another pretty short level overall. You're on a giant plane. Here you're going to start off by using your wave move and then just run behind the wave, and it'll destroy a lot of enemies. You're then going to have all these guys in these little firing cockpit-like things. Just keep destroying them and running, and eventually you'll be able to enter a room and it's already time for the boss fight. Yep, that quickly. For this boss fight, you're going to have to wait a few moments for the platforms to start coming down. You'll then have to jump on them and get up to the top in order to hit the boss. In order to do damage, you're going to have to hit the spinning, rotating thing in the center, but not directly above it. You actually have to hit it either dead on or just slightly below the center. You can use your big explosion-like move, though, to do a ton of damage if you're able to aim the shots correctly. It's rather difficult to do this, but if you're able to do so, it'll take it down in only a few blasts. Once it's done, though, we'll be moving on to the final level of the game. The final level is a nightmare for the bats. These things will hound you the entire time and drain your health fast. The only other real enemy is these guys with spears, but thankfully those guys with the spears can be taken out with a single firebomb attack, or you can use your homing needles to help you as well. I highly recommend spamming the homing needles over and over again to take out as many bats before they're able to get to you. You'll have to hit a couple of levers and then go through and climb up in order to enter into the next section. There's going to be a bat immediately attacking you, then charge up your move so you have it ready and then climb back and forth all the way to the very top. When you start falling down, at any point, use your needles to start blasting some of the enemies before you get down. Here you'll have to deal with another spear guy, but use your big blast to take him out, and then hit the lever on the far right. Go back to the elevator and go up to the next segment. Either use your big firebomb to destroy any of the mass amount of guys near you, then get on the elevator and go all the way up to the top. Then, over to the left, another elevator, spear dude, stairs, and to the next section. This area is a little bit more tricky. Get out your big firebomb and destroy the spear guy, then hit the lever. Go up, hit the next lever, but don't go all the way to the top, instead drop back down and hit the previous lever again. This will open up all the areas you need open so you can get up to the very top. Use your needle move when you get up here though to battle those bats. On the next elevator, skip the first floor that you can get to and go all the way to the top. You'll have to jump up to the next one, take out a few guys, and go through the door. There's a spear guy waiting for you up here, so blast him with a big firebomb, and then keep going up using the elevators and using your needle move or regular boomerang to take out all the hounding bats. Like I said, they're relentless and they do not stop. When you make it here, you're going to want to climb up the first elevator up to the top in order to grab a jar of health. This is pretty much one of the only areas of health in that level, so be sure to pick it up. Here you'll have a little bit of maze of levers. You want to hit the first two, drop down, hit this one, switch this one, but you don't actually want to hit it twice. Watch out for the bat, and then you want to climb up the left side and hit this switch, go back to the first switch, and hit it again, finally opening up the complete path. The bats will keep spawning, as you can see. Once here, you will have to climb up, but since the jumping can be a little bit tricky when it comes to doing a turnaround and jump, and the bat's still on you, you're going to be kind of in a little bit of a panic mode, so just try to be careful and use your big blast when you can. Now, it's final boss time. No surprise that this girl ends up returning to us to battle us once again, and we're going to want to use either the needle move or the big firebomb in order to do the most damage. The wave can also help you greatly here. This giant dragon-like head, when it's moving up, is the only time you can hit it, but it's not directly into the head of the dragon. Instead, it's really kind of the neck just below the head that you're actually going to be hitting. So you're going to be wanting to aim at that when you're using your firebomb moves. Sometimes the pattern for this boss is a little bit easier than others. You can use the bomb when it's on the far right wall in order to do damage from the explosion after the bomb explodes against that wall. Keep launching out the waves when you can and just dodge as many fireballs. Thankfully, the fireballs do not do a ton of damage to you. And if you're able to get a direct hit with the bomb, you can drain the health of the boss really fast. Once you're able, though, to deliver that final hit, you can sit back and enjoy the ending to El Viento. So there you have it, a great anime-style ending and an overall cool storyline. It's something that you didn't see a ton back in the day, and this game by Wolf Team does a fantastic job of showing a story, having cool art to look around with, great action, and a good soundtrack. Mix it all together, and El Viento is definitely kind of a hidden gem on the Sega Genesis. Honestly, the only thing bad about the game that gets on my nerves a bit is those bad enemies. When you play the game, if you've never played it before, you're gonna quickly find out just how annoying they truly are. Once you get the hang of them though, using the right abilities against them, the game definitely starts to become easier. And with every level being in a nice different setting and the graphics definitely being cool, I highly recommend checking out El Viento. But anyway guys, that's gonna wrap up this edition of Play It Through. I'd like to thank you for watching, and of course, I hope you enjoyed.